Every day I'm reviewing the market, and just today I'm going to start working with a buyer who's looking at a very specific region in downtown. We're going to see what's new on market for sale for this specific buyer. And of course, it's not just about that while I'm going through the listings, what's new, what's not. I'm going to tell you what's good, what's crap, which buildings I like, which buildings I dislike. And really you get to see how I think about the market, how I review listings, whether in this case, Toronto condos in downtown Toronto in a specific region, or when I'm even working with detached home buyers in Vaughan, Markham, Toronto. You people seem to enjoy this stuff, so I keep doing it. But don't forget to get in touch with me with any buying, selling, leasing inquiries. I am a full-time realtor. Many clients have come from this channel. I'm looking forward to meeting the rest of you. Let's start. All right, so we have the system open. For today's video, we're gonna do a map search. Now, whether I do a map search or a basic field search depends on the specific buyer. But in this case, my client is looking for a very, very narrow corridor. And when it's just a narrow corridor like this, it's easier to just draw the boundaries as opposed to do a field search. So as west as Spadina, as north as Bloor, and probably just up to Yonge Streets. Now, this specific buyer, once we draw the map and kind of create our boundaries, is looking for not freehold, but condos, sale available for either 1 bedroom or 1+1, definitely obviously 1 washroom. And the budget thereabouts is around 700,000 max, but just because 700K is our budget, or when I work with buyers who are $1 million budget, $2 million budget, doesn't mean we have to actually exhaust it all. And we see based on that criteria alone, we have 281 results. And you guys might be wondering, in this specific location, Spadina to Yonge, Water to Bloor, how are there units listed for $399, $399? I mean, how are there units listed as low as $399 for 1 or a 1+1 in this case, 1 King Street, 1+1? Well, you just have to know the buildings, right? For instance, I can tell you without even clicking on this listing, 410 Queensgate Unit 505, listed for $399. This is an offer night pricing. This is an auction style pricing for an offer night. I don't even have to click on it to verify that. But something like 1 King Street, Unit 1601, well, this could be borderline. It could be offer night, but probably isn't. Cheap buildings, one of the cheapest building per square foot in downtown, and I've covered extensively why in the past. But if you're curious, it's basically a hotel. All the floor plans, all the units in this building have the layout of a hotel. Ridiculously high maintenance fees. Really not for most people. Nonetheless, let's start looking at what's interesting and what is suitable for my particular client in this case. Of course, I can't give too much away in my. But before we do, one other thing I usually do, this is for almost 90% of my buyers, and they're well aware of this, I always specify it, is I look based on the occupancy of tenants. I don't like showing tenanted units to my buyers. I only show tenanted units to my buyers if it's near a perfect match. This is not to say there's anything wrong with tenants. I was a tenant, I work with tenants, I represent tenants as well. This is just simply to say, as buyers, we're taking on a risk when we assume a tenant, especially if the tenant is at face value, not of high quality. And once we exclude for tenancy, we see we're down to 221 results. Let's start with this one. 11 Wellesley, Unit 4711, just 1 day on market, listed for $599. This is a building that appeals to a lot of buyers, purely from the aesthetics of the outside. I think it looks cool, it looks charming. This unit in specific is quite narrow, but it has floor to ceiling windows, so that's good. It looks like it has some slight wear and tear. The reflective finishes on the cabinetry, I'm personally not a fan, but I'm not the one paying, so my opinion is not important in terms of the finishes. But if you're into shiny objects, this building 11 Wellesley can often lead you a bit astray. It's definitely not a B+ tier building, let alone an A tier building. It's for people who are more flexible in terms of living perhaps in a noisy building or a building that occasionally has elevator outages. It's not a bad building where I would say avoid it by all means. So professionally, I'm a bit lukewarm towards it despite the exterior. So take a look at this one, 100 Harbour, Unit 3901, listed for $608,000. Now, believe it or not, I've actually seen this for sale in person. And the unit is what it looks like. I actually believe at the time of recording of this video, this does have an active offer on it, because anytime I show a unit, I get notifications when there's an offer registered. I showed this to a different buyer. And the thing with 100 Harbour Street is you have to understand it does not have free visitor parking. And the gym is not included in the maintenance. The gym and the visitor parking are in the adjacent building, 1 York, and residents get preferred rates, but still not free. And when you don't have the gym included in the maintenance, and the maintenance is $591, the square footage of this is around 560, 565. The old ones typically in this building are around 560. That's a little too much to ask for, in my opinion. It's not a deal breaker once again. At least you do have water and you do have heat included in the maintenance. Nonetheless, it leaves a little bit to be desired. I think at 608, it's priced okay. Previously, I'm pretty confident these guys were listed maybe 630, 640. Ideally, someone should get this in the high 500s. Decent option, but nothing I'm one to save to my cart. Let's take a look at this unit in 380 front, unit 2601. Let's see if this has any potential. Listed at 609,000. This is a 1+1 with 1 washroom, no locker, no parking. Let's take a look. Okay, seems pretty straightforward. Accent wall there. Not professional photography. The view and exposure is passable, I would say. Really, when there's no professional photography, it's kind of difficult to make out the exact floor plan. And the thing about 381 Front Street, along with 373, I think, and 361, I actually prefer the Concord buildings on the east side of Spadina as opposed to the Concord buildings on the west side of Spadina. These are far, I think, better than a lot of the city place, like the proper city place Concord buildings, like Mariner Terrace and, you know, Dan Leckie Way and Navy Wharf, all those, excluding Brunel. But I would even say these are a little bit better than 75 Queens Wharf, you know, even though I have a soft spot for 75 Queens Wharf. So building quality is passable, but the unit itself does not seem that attractive. So another unit in 100 Harbour Street, 2407, this time listed for $615,000, 1 bed, 1 wash. Smaller even than the previous one. When this is the case, why would anyone go for your unit when you're competing with like 3-4 other units in your building that are larger, but priced for less, right? This is something you got to think of as a seller, and this is something I always bring to my sellers' attentions when I work with them. At below 500 square feet, this column here is going to eat up a lot of space. This is due for another price reduction for sure. It should not even go close to the high 500s, let alone $615,000. This is interesting. 8 York, unit 3604, listed for $648,000. 1 bed, 1 wash. Exactly 553 square feet, no parking, 1 locker. Now, let's take a look at the unit as I talk to you about the building. I know this building relatively well, I would say. I've showed it multiple times, and this is a typical layout for this type of unit. The bedroom is in the middle of the floor plan. There's kind of a narrow corridor, if I had to guess. Yes, there we go. There's that narrow corridor right there. Despite that though, these units have some fantastic views of the city, of the water, and these pictures are doing a lot of heavy lifting, and not in terms of making it look better than it is. These units actually in person look well. I know this because I'm legitimately out of the office every single day with buyers nowadays. But the reason why I say these pictures are doing heavy lifting is they're making it seem larger. This could be a little bit misleading in terms of space. But we see here that it does actually have these water views, which is great, great stuff. And the building itself, 8 York, is a really good building. It's 8 York and 208 Queenskey are one building, not to be confused with Tridell's 10 York, not to be confused with the ICE condos 12 and 14 York, but 8 York is a really good building, managed fantastically well. It has just this good quality feel when you're inside. But I cater my services to my specific client. My specific client in this case will want something a little bit fresher, a little sexier. Not to say this is outdated, but I know my clients well. I don't think this building would speak to them. Let's take a look at 197 Yonge, a building I've covered countless times. 5310 for listed for $655,000, 645 square feet. I've made my opinions clear on this building. Location is absolutely fantastic. Layouts occasionally leave a little bit to be desired because they have these, once again, middle of the floor plan layouts, but you know, it's just bit weird because they don't even have a full glass door or a full transparent glass floor to ceiling wall. These ones are half concrete or half drywall, whatever this is, and the rest is like glass. So it kind of even limits the light a bit more. And it's just sometimes these layouts are really awkward, you know? However, even though I'm kind of mixed on this building, I think it's a little bit too on the rowdy side. I think there are definitely some, let's say, people who live in this building that make a living based on cash jobs only, let's say it like that. But even though I'm a little bit more mixed on this building, I think it's definitely a more tenant-friendly building as opposed to a end user-friendly building. For someone young, someone looking for excitement, someone looking for prime location and something new and sexy, I think this would appeal to them. Pricing wise, once again, 60 days on market. In today's market, you have to be negotiating off of the price. Even if it's worth asking price, at least give it a shot, right? It is a buyer advantageous market. Another interesting unit, the Esplanade, unit 1908. I actually quite like this building. I know it's controversial opinion. This building started at a rocky start. Once again, another building I've talked about a lot. I should probably stop saying it for new viewers. New viewers are probably tired of me saying I've talked about this in the past. But I have, you know, it has limited parking. You can hear the trains in lower floors. It has columns, but at least in this square footage, the column is a little bit more passable. And this is a corner unit, looks very bright. It's a high demand building for sure. Even though it's 8 days on market, this is not the first go around on market. I think I came across this listing before actually. I think they might have listed for around 680 or 75 or something like that, which is common in today's market. But I think this will appeal to my specific buyer. But if you want my in-depth thoughts on this building, definitely check out my full-length video review of this building, which I conducted like 4 years ago. I am wearing a shirt that's way too small for me in that video, so please look past that. Nonetheless, this is something you can work with and take a look at in person. And then we have 300 front unit 714, listed for 689, one bed, one wash. The problem with this building is that on paper it has all the makings of a fantastic building. Looks great, location is great, built by Tridel. It has like a high-end feel. However, it is the most Airbnb building in the entire city. That's no exaggeration. 1 out of every 4 units in this building statistically are Airbnbs. That's even looking at registered Airbnbs. So this is not an option. I will never take a client to an Airbnb building. So yes, if you are an Airbnb investor looking for a building that kind of turns a blind eye to Airbnbs, this is your building. If you are an end user, whether you're a young person, old person, middle-aged, whatever it is, this is not a building for you. All right, folks, that is it for today. Nothing exciting. Right now, that's the problem mostly we're running into working with buyers is that most of the inventory, especially in this case where it's like a very defined boundary that's quite small in scope, a lot of options are just really mediocre to bad, right? I have to obviously go through that one more time, not recording a video, but just looking at it, glancing at it, doesn't seem exciting. That's the only downside to being a buyer though, is that inventory quality for the most part is lacking, but time is not lacking. We have all the time in the world as buyers. Negotiating leverage is not lacking. Hey, rates are coming down. People are getting pre-approved for more. Anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this video. As always, subscribe, comment, and like for any buying, selling, leasing inquiries. You already know what to do. Get in touch with me. My link is in the bio. Book a call. Don't be shy. Say hi. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe. And as always, stay tuned. Thank you.